This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Police Traffic Division Superintendent Marino Hines has a slightly different view from the United States Safety and Crime Report, which states that police is slow to respond to traffic accidents. Mr. Hines insists that the police force's response times consistent with all Caribbean islands.
This holiday period, where we see persons will be driving either from various parties or on the beach having a picnic, and the consumption of alcohol is obvious. We will have officers in place at many of these locations. You're going to see the officers out in full force doing stop and search. We're going to be doing checking drivers to ensure that they are not impaired drivers, to ensure that they are driving inconsistent with the rules and regulations on the streets of New Providence.
The report also addressed drinking and driving laws being disregarded, and to this he says that's beyond their jurisdiction.
For clarity, we would say that that is a law that has not been passed as yet. We believe that in very short order that will become law, just for if people are keeping up to date with what is happening. It has been passed in the House of Assembly. We're waiting on it to be passed in the Senate, and then obviously it has to be signed and gazetted. Once it's signed and published in an official gazette, it becomes law, which gives us power to cite drivers.
The current process for deeming a driver impaired is to have a physician measure the amount of alcohol in their blood under the approval of the driver or the magistrate's court. Mr. Hines indicated that there has been talk about implementing breathalyzers. However, the police force still awaits further instruction. As for now, police have the liberty to arrest drunk drivers based on suspicion. Phase 1 of BPL's $95 million emergency generation investment with Wärtsilä is 50% complete and is on schedule to come on stream this September as planned. BPL's executive director Patrick Rollins confirmed that construction at the Clifton Pier location is underway to accommodate the 132 megawatts of power, which will be brought by Wärtsilä.
So we got the engines up. We now had to do some civil works in the hall. So we got a main contractor, and here you see the rebar being laid for the formwork. Now they're pouring the concrete. They pour it in sections. There are 3 sections each, and the concrete is 4 feet thick, so they did it 2 feet at a time. It's about 1,800 yards of concrete.
He also gave the assurance that this will be the last summer for load shedding. The engines are expected to arrive in the capital in May. The time needed to transport the engine to Clifton Pier will take approximately 9 hours and will result in roadblocks.
So the route is going to be from our Key, they go down West Bay Street, Bahamas Boulevard, onto JFK, Windsor Field Road, rest of the road. They're going to take a detour to Serenity, back onto rest of the road, Southwest Road to 15 here. It's like a 16-mile track. Each engine can take 9 hours to get there. So we're working with law enforcement, we're working with the other utility companies because trees have to be moved, wires have to be moved out of the way in order for this to happen.
The construction cost, said Rollins, equals to the same amount the power company has been paying for rental generators over the past few years. Here are the benefits of this project.
It removes our dependence on rental generation to Providence. It adds 132 megawatts of high efficiency tri-fuel generation. It puts BC on the path of energy security, that we can now choose between our types of fuel, which is our first stage of energy security. It returns Clifton as our base load station. Clifton was designed to be our primary station for generation. Over the years, that has migrated to Blue Road. We want to get Clifton back in the industrial areas as our base load station, with Blue Road being only a peaking station. It increases our use of HFO, which is a low fuel cost, which is kind of, you can see on our bills right away. The engines will be fueled by LNG when that becomes available.
Despite traffic disruption, the BPL executive director maintains the corporation will do its best to ensure this process has the least bit of disruptions. Productive talks between the BPL board and the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, confirming as much, was BPL Executive Director Patrick Rollins and Union President Paul Maynard. In the case of the former, Rollins says the board hears the union's concerns and is trying their best to address them.
We're doing our best to have as many payments working the project as possible. What still is on board with this too, so everyone is on the same page here.
Union President Paul Maynard says the Prime Minister gave his word that their concerns will be addressed. 3 weeks ago, Maynard wrote Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis a letter expressing concern over the signed contract between BPL and Finnish technology group Wärtsilä. The issue, according to Maynard, was that Bahamian workers would be treated as second-class citizens during the installation process of the new generators. Well, a different tone from the union leader today, as he's anticipating a favorable outcome. As he said, the board confirmed that they will work out a training schedule for BPL employees. The country needs about 800 nurses, a critical shortage Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands has repeatedly admitted has impacted the delivery of health care throughout the country. And it's a challenge, he says, that's more than a decade old. There's long been talk of coming up with a plan to boost the chances of public sector nurses staying put while recruiting more.
We recognize the challenge, and we are seeking on a daily basis to improve the terms and conditions of service of nurses. For some, they perceive that we're not moving fast enough. But like I said, this is not something that started yesterday, and it will not be solved tomorrow.
Now, while that may be the case, other than being given the preference of purchasing low-cost lots, here's what's being offered to nurses as incentives.
We have now gotten approval for a midwife training program. We are looking at adjusting the scholarship support for persons who are considering going into nursing. A number of committees have met to give specific recommendations. Those recommendations now have to have the concurrence of the ministry and then the cabinet of the Bahamas. There are cost implications, there are budgetary implications, and so while conceptually you can come up with an idea, in order to see that idea through, you now have to walk it through to see what all of the implications are, what impact it may have on teachers, what impact it may have on police officers, defense force officers, etc. Because as you begin to adjust compensation for any single group of individuals now, the expected response is, well, what about us?
Well, that wraps up this segment of the news. Now a check on sports.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.